Greetings and peace. I would like to start this with Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim, in the name of Allah, the Beneficent, the Most Merciful, and Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuhu. And also the greeting of the Nur Fatimiyya Sufi order, Nur alaikum. I dedicate this to the friends, brothers, and sisters of the Nur Fatimiyya Sufi order, and to Shaykh Wahid Azal. And I represent myself only as a free man under free speech. So today I would like to talk about the teachings of the book that Shaykh Wahid had authored in 2006 called the LIBER Decatriarchia Mystica, Sketchings of the 13 Encompassing Spheres of the Tree of Reality and Assorted Materials. I will post a link in the description below on where you can access this book. So before I get into the teachings of the book, I'll talk a little bit about Shaykh Wahid for those that don't know him, and also a little bit about the Nur FSO, as I'm his representative and honored to be so in North America. And if anyone has any questions or concerns about the Nur FSO, please reach out to me. So Shaykh Wahid Azal is an Iranian-born mystic, scholar, and author known for his work in Sufism, Islamic esotericism, and Gnosticism. He has written extensively on topics related to spirituality, mysticism, and the intersection of various religious traditions. Shaykh Wahid was born in Tehran, Iran in 1972. He comes from a family with a background in Islamic scholarship and Sufism. He has lived and studied in various countries, including Iran, the United States, and Australia. The Sheikh is known for his deep engagement with mystical and esoteric traditions, particularly within Islam, and his writings often explore themes related to spirituality, philosophy, and interfaith dialogue. The Sheikh has also been involved in academic research and has contributed to the understanding of Sufism and Gnosticism. Shaykh Wahid Azal continues to be an influential figure in the fields of mysticism and religious studies and paths and those who are into this way of life. Shaykh Wahid Azal's teachings encompass a wide range of topics related to spirituality, mysticism, and esotericism. He draws from various religious and philosophical traditions, including Sufism, Gnosticism, and Western esotericism. Some key themes in his teachings include the pursuit of inner knowledge and enlightenment, the importance of spiritual practice and discipline, the exploration of the mystical dimensions of Islam, and the integration of diverse spiritual insights into a holistic worldview. Shaykh Wahid Azal also emphasizes the significance of critical thinking and questioning in the pursuit of spiritual truth, encouraging individuals to engage deeply with their beliefs and experiences. And overall, his teachings promote a multifaceted approach to spirituality that embraces diversity and seeks to uncover the deeper meanings behind religious and mystical traditions. This book, Liber Decatriarchia Mystica, is a book that was written by Shaykh Wahid Azal in 2006. And this book mainly delves into the esoteric and mystical themes, exploring the concept of decatriarchy, which refers to a mystical hierarchy of 12 divine emanations or archetypes. And it shows teachings from different various spiritual traditions, including Sufism, Gnosticism, and Western esotericism. And it shows a comprehensive framework to show the nature of reality, the nature of the soul, and what are we really doing here. And that is what it's about. For those that have seen my lectures with the Sheikh, it really gives you a sense of enlightenment and to really find that question within yourself about who am I, what am I doing here, what is the purpose of life, what are all of these different spiritual disciplines and traditions really teaching me. Now that you know a bit about the Shaykh Wahid Azal and what this book is leading up to, I would like to talk a bit about the Nur Fatimiyya Sufi order before moving further into the teachings of the book. The Nur Fatimiyya Sufi order, or the Nur FSO, founded by Shaykh Wahid Azal, it particularly focuses on the teachings and foundations of Sufism, emphasizing the Fatimiyya lineage within Sufi tradition. And it places importance on spiritual practices such as dhikr, Allah, remembrance of God, meditation, and inner purification. And it draws inspiration from Islamic mysticism, Gnosticism, and other esoteric traditions, seeking to provide a path for individuals to deepen their spiritual connection and understanding. The Noor FSO aims to promote peace, love, and spiritual growth among its members, while also engaging in interfaith dialogue and outreach. The key teachings of this wonderful order of inner transformation are as follows. 1. Remembrance of God, dhikrullah, emphasizing the importance of constant remembrance of the divine through prayers, chants, and meditation practices to cultivate spiritual awareness and connection. 2. Inner purification, encouraging individuals to purify their hearts and minds from negative qualities such as egoism, greed, and attachment, and to cultivate virtues such as compassion, humility, and love. 3. Unity of being, teaching the underlying unity of all existence and the interconnectedness of the spiritual and material realms, emphasizing the divine presence in all creation, similar to Ibn Arabi, the unity of being, Wadat al-Wajud. 4. Seeking knowledge, encouraging the pursuit of knowledge, both spiritual and worldly, as a means of deepening understanding and wisdom. 5. Service and compassion, promoting acts of service, kindness, and compassion towards others as expressions of spiritual devotion and love for the divine. 6. Interfaith dialogue, advocating for tolerance, understanding, and cooperation among people of different faiths, recognizing the commonality of spiritual truths across religious traditions. And overall, the teachings of the Noor FSO aim to guide individuals on a path of spiritual growth, inner peace, and enlightenment, while also promoting harmony and unity within society. Shaykh Wahid Azal has done such great work, and that is what it's about, that in today's society, we have to see who is the one that's actually guiding and uplifting humanity, and the Sheikh is definitely one of them. Moving on with the teachings of this book, Shaykh Wahid Azal's journey started when he had a profound psychedelic experience after taking acacia, which led to a vision of a cosmic being entity that transcended all categories of existence. The being communicated with the Sheikh and identified itself as the chief divine archangel Metatron. The teachings continue to discuss Shaykh Wahid Azal's exploration of esoteric teachings and the Sheikh's personal experiences with their holy guardian archangel. The Sheikh mentions receiving visions and instructions from various spiritual figures in their dreams. And the Sheikh shows the understanding of the tree of reality goes beyond traditional interpretations and is actually related to Enochian high magic. The Sheikh talks about a bit of his background and affiliations with the Bayani Gnostic faith and what it means to them and its significance. And the Sheikh also continues to show how the Bayan is relevant to today's society as well, and how today's esoteric, or like the exoteric religions of today, are not really showing that path to the individual and the seeker. And that is what it's about. And the Sheikh encourages us to interpret and study these different teachings using different methods such as gematria, the study of numbers, and how it helps us to overcome a lot of these boundaries of knowledge. The Sheikh continues to show the corruption and decline of spiritual traditions and religions, and also rightly so show their criticism of the Baha'i faith. And for those that have seen my videos with the Sheikh, he encourages you, especially the third commandment of the Fatimiyya Sufi order, tells you to look within that own inner light and follow the teachings of your heart. And that is the most important, as the qalb, your heart, is the station where God resides and lives. So the Sheikh continues in this book with the teachings, the power of discourse and why we need communication, and having ideas and combating militant Islamic fundamentalism. And the teachings of the Sufi master Ibn Arabi can also be used as a powerful weapon against these ideologies, as he promoted Ummati Muhammad, the oneness of all communities. Shaykh Wahid tells us to form these groups in order to have a society one day where even the elements that we're dealing with, let's say air, fire, water, earth, we should live in a society where these things should not be bought or sold. The Sheikh also talks about number 49 and includes its connection to the formation of the pineal gland and discharge of the DMT in the brain. And Shaykh Wahid Azal shows the concept of the persecution of certain religious figures and why we should all find out what happened to these people, such as Subi Azal and others, and we should seek justice on their behalf. The teachings continue to discuss the beauty, power, and perfection of the Godhead, and nothing is greater than the Godhead. As we say even in Arabic, Allahu Akbar, there is none higher or greater than the Creator itself. Shaykh Wahid Azal even talks about Ibn Arabi's vision of the tree of life. And the Sheikh shows how he had experienced an epiphany where he had a vision and was commanded by an archangel to write a treatise on the tree of life, which would be called Decatriarchia Mystica, of the same book that we are going into today. The Sheikh continues to receive divine instructions and dreams about the intricacies of the tree, and the teachings mentions the concept of mercy and wrath, and the unity and multiplicity, and the self-disclosures of the One All. It then dwells into the details of the tree, including the number of spheres and their characteristics. The tree of reality encompasses all things. The teachings continue to discuss various aspects of God, including mind, soul, spirit, sustenance, life, death, creation, time, space, and direction. It mentions the everlasting and singular nature of God. Further, and it explores the manifestation and existential reality of the 13 spheres, as well as the covenant of love and the breath of existence. The inhalation and exhalation of the breath of the merciful is said to existentialize substantial realities within the eternal garden. The teachings of the book continue to mention the establishment of a pen, tablet, determination, command, exposition, throne, and footstool in all realms of existence. And the Sheikh continues to teach in his book and discuss the sealings and the most holy procession of the spheres. Going further, the self-disclosures, emanations, effusions, and elements of the one merciful living Godhead are there as that all-encompassing reality. And the book continues to teach further about the 13 spheres and the function of the 32 foundation letters and the 4 vowel signs. And it talks about the dissolution and coagulation of these theophanies, as well as the 1,260 gates and the Archangel Imam, who is the theophany of the greatest name. And the teachings continue to emphasize the importance of the greatest name and its function in creating the substances of the archetypal essence. And going further, it mentions the 36 subtle ray pathways of realization in the worlds of eternity. Shaykh Wahid continues to discuss the 36 paths, or the radiant subtle ray pathways of the tree of reality, which lead to the realization of the highest truth of human divinity. And it continues to mention the 13 self-disclosures and emanations of the essence, as well as the 13 constellations, months of the year, and physical layers of the human body. The teachings continue to discuss the relationship between the self-disclosures and emanations and their significance in various aspects, such as letters, definite limits, human body, constellations, and months. And it also mentions the representation of the 4 elements by the vowel signs and their connection to the journey of the soul. The teachings continue to discuss various concepts related to the tree of reality, including the correspondence between the 36 subtle ray paths of radiance and the 36 decanates of the zodiac, the symbolism of the right pillar as beauty and the left pillar as majesty, the significance of the 2 pentagrams representing the black rose, and the interconnectedness of all things above and below. And that is the importance of all of these teachings that are shown here. And the transmission of these ancient mysteries and secrets from various cultures and religions, traditions throughout history, and why it's important for those who do have the power to connect with the divine and channel this information, like what the Sheikh has done. And the divine has done this to individuals and groups who have passed on these secrets to their successors, including figures like Akhenaten, Salman, Zarathustra, Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, Prophet Jesus, Isa, peace be upon him, and that is their influence throughout the world and throughout the ages. Shaykh Wahid continues to discuss the creation and passing away of the terrestrial world, the manifestation of the pure solace of the eyes, Fatima, and the reincarnation of various spiritual figures. The teachings continue to emphasize the importance of the current manifestation of the divine, who is the mirror of the essence of the Godhead and the seal of universal sainthood. The teachings also mention the continuous guidance of the Godhead and the role of Gnosis in understanding the one Godhead. And the praise is there for the eternal talisman and the tree of reality as embodiments of the perfect human being, the Insan al-Kamil. The teachings proclaim the return of she whom the Godhead shall make manifest, who is Shaykh Wahid Azal, as the camphorated sixth talisman of the eternal sun and the throne of the knowledge of the Godhead. She is identified as the pure solace of the eyes and the essence of the light of the Godhead. The teachings conclude with a call to acknowledge the manifestation of the resplendent sun and addresses the one desired beloved, the living and peerless ariser. And this text is basically a poetic and elaborate praise of the Godhead, expressing love and devotion. It emphasizes the belief in the existence of the one and only true God and the importance of recognizing and worshiping this God. The teachings also acknowledge the presence and influence of various divine messengers throughout history. And this shows that she whom God shall make manifest is Shaykh Wahid Azal, who is the true heir and the promised one of the Bayan, supported by evidence from Bayani writings, and the criticism of Hussein Ali Nuri for not understanding or explaining the ciphers in the writings. And Shaykh Wahid Azal's primary rank and station as the mirror to the essence of the Godhead is also addressed, and the upcoming day of resurrection and the role of the true Eve. Shaykh Wahid Azal provides numerical interpretations of certain phrases and claims that none of the other claimants to their rank have provided sufficient proof, as rightly so, and why the Shaykh encourages you to study gematria. And there is no one else that can falsely pretend to be Shaykh Wahid Azal's position, which is she whom God shall make manifest in regards to the Bayan. And that is what it's truly about. The Shaykh continues to describe their dream experiences and interpretations related to Islamic and Sufi symbolism. And the Shaykh shows the significance of the mosque, the concept of divine illumination, and one's own spiritual journey. And you must also realize this within yourself. Shaykh also talks about his experiences with angelology, the study of angels and the angelic realms and worlds, and the role of the divine feminine. The Shaykh discusses the continuation of the Bayan revelation in a new form with a focus on a cosmopolitan, non-exclusive, and universal setting. It mentions the establishment of the Ecclesia Gnostica Bayani Universalis, dedicated to esotericism and acts of selfless service. The teachings traces the origin of Gnosis to the Heliopolitan Unitarian and the universal solar Gnostic meta-religion of ancient Egypt. The Shaykh declares as himself as she whom God shall make manifest, and also the Kalki avatar, and the one who's here to do what he needs to do. And of course, as we are living in the age of chaos, you have the concepts of universal resurrection, gathering, and judgment, whom many people are talking about. So you have the phrase, but God, which represents the absolute reality and has a numerical value of 165. It is also known as Ahraf al-Hadiyya and refers to the 12 Shia Imams. And the teachings also mentions the use of the phrase as a daily mantra and its connection to the word living in Arabic. The teachings of this book discusses the symbol of the seal of Solomon, its origins, and its significance in Sufi and Bayani esotericism. And it shows by mentioning its role in the creation of the universal elixir and its interpretation in Shia eschatological beliefs. And the Sheikh shows the significance of the Wah, of the greatest name, and its connection to the Imam Mahdi. And it shows the concept of the two gulfs and the number 8 in various religious and historical contexts. It explores the symbolism and the meaning associated with these concepts. The number 8 is seen as auspicious and is associated with concepts of luck and perfection in various religions and cultural traditions. It is connected to the idea of divine grace and eternal life in Christianity and is mentioned in the Sermon of the Mount. 8 is also significant in Buddhism, Confucianism, and Chinese culture, where it represents good fortune. In many cases, 8 is seen as an empowered version of the number 4, symbolizing swiftness and the division of the year. It is also used to represent a round number, such as a week of 8 days. Despite its lucky qualities, 8 has not played a major role in popular religion and magic. Bayani esotericism symbolizes the hidden mystery of the Godhead, with the Ha representing the manifest and the Wa representing the hidden. The symbol of the greatest name refers to the union of opposites and the completion of the great work. The Shaykh al-Akbar suggests that the highest contemplation of the Godhead is in sexual union. And that's why in many Islamic traditions and sayings, they tell you that you are not complete until both sexes come together. That's when your faith in Islam is complete, is when you marry. Even Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim, the Rahman, feminine, and the Rahim, masculine, both coming together, that does form God. And in the Quran, Allah does tell you, He does have 99 names, but He says, you can either call me Allah or call me Rahman, which is a divine feminine name. And focusing on the Nur Fatimiyya Sufi order, which focuses on the mother goddess herself. The Sheikh argues that the greatest name is Hu, not Baha, and that Hu refers to the essence and totality of the Godhead. The Imam Ali's sermon is also important interpretations of this symbol. And that is the case. You have to know all of these things and to be the ones who are on this path of gnosis. That is what it's truly about. And we see what's going on in the world and how we need to just recognize that within ourselves and have this concept of prayers and knowing what is right on this path of self-discovery. All right, so moving forward, the Sheikh discusses the Persian Bayani calendar and the calculation of the first year starting on March 21st, 1850. It also includes a list of the months and their corresponding days, as well as a Neo-Bayani calendar consisting of 13 months of 28 days each. The teachings mentions the significance of Tuesday in the Bayani calendar and provides a description of the first sphere in the Bayani theosophical cosmology. The teachings discuss the Archangel Metatron and its various forms and manifestation. And it also shows the references, the hierarchy of angelic intelligences and their roles in the divine science and creation. And of course, the teachings further explore the relationship between the universal reality and the world. The teachings discuss the concept of a third entity that encompasses all realities. And it suggests that this entity cannot exist separately from necessary being and explores various numerological interpretations related to Islamic scripture. The teachings discusses the symbol of the greatest name, which is considered a counterfeit by some Bayani and non-Bayani Gnostics. And the teachings continue to explore a hadith, a theosophical dialogue between Ali and his disciple Kumail, which is seen as a central proof text in the Bayani esotericism. And it provides a translation of the dialogue and explains its connection to the Bayani manifestation. And it references a chapter from Ibn Arabi's Bezels of Wisdom, discussing the relationship between imagination and revelation. And the teachings continue to discuss the concept of the cosmos and its relationship to the reality. It explains that the cosmos is like a shadow cast by the reality, and that the reality is known to us through the shadow. The teachings also explores the idea that the cosmos is essentially an imagination without any real existence, and that the only true reality is the Godhead. Why many Sufis say that Allah is the only reality. It emphasizes the importance of understanding our own identity and relationship with reality. The discussion is there, and it discusses further the mutual interdependence of the cosmos and humans on the divine names of God. And it also mentions various numerical and linguistic connections relating to the divine names. Shaykh Wahid Azal emphasizes the need to recognize and acknowledge the power and wisdom of the Godhead. Very true. The teachings discuss the perception of light and beauty and the recognition of the divine essence. It mentions the inability to fully describe God and the importance of praise and glory. The teachings also discuss the significance of numbers and the concept of Trinity in different religions. And it emphasizes the importance of the vicegerents and the spiritual ascension. Shaykh Wahid Azal believes that the lyre mentioned in the Dead Sea Scrolls is the same as the Almighty Godhead. The argument is there that the Church of Rome and other Christian sects are illegitimate, and that the only Gnostic churches and certain Eastern Orthodox sects are the true heirs of the path of James, Mary Magdalene, and Jesus, peace be with them. And the claim is there that the Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, was the paraclete or paraclete mentioned in Christian scriptures and the chief theophanic initiator of Islam. The Sheikh mentions the importance of Eve and criticizes the Judeo-Christian Islamic tradition for portraying her as a temptress or as an evil person who led to the fall of man. The discussion is there of the translocation of the body of the Prophet Muhammad and the three spatio-temporal modalities of existence. Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, followed the command of the Godhead and trusted in it. He was established as eternally without peer, and his body was the manifestation of the divine will. He had the signs of prophethood written on his shoulder, and his uniqueness was apparent from the moment of his birth. As the messenger of the Godhead, he began his prophetic actions and held the title of Opener and Seal. His father's name and his own name hold significance in relation to the divine. The letter M in his name represents the first letter of the divine will and signifies the element of fire. The number 40 is also significant in his name, as at the age of 40 is when the prophet received his revelations from God, from the archangel Gabriel. The number 483 has significance in Hebrew and relates to the constellations. The letter C and the number 194 have significance in Persian and Hebrew. Respectively, the letter Rosh in Hebrew means head and is related to the tarot card, the sun. The Enochian watchtowers and tablets have complex symbolism and correspondences. The teachings also show the numerical value of 27 and its significance in different tradition. And the teachings continue to go further to show the concept of the living Godhead, the Bayani Universal Church, the power of certain words and mantras, and the missing chapters of the Quran. And it shows the need for the believers to watch over their souls and not be veiled from the Godhead. And we need that. You must surrender to the will of God. The teachings discusses the true religion of the Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, and the significance of the Furqan. It mentions lost chapters regarding the vicegerency of Ali as his successor and the divine vicegerency of Fatima, peace be upon them all. Most people do not know the significance of the Prophet Muhammad, Imam Ali, and Fatima, and the Trinity that binds them together in connection to the Godhead. And also the Sheikh talks about and mentions the existence of the true integral book in the hand of Ali according to the Archangel Imam. And moving on, we talk about now the Bab, a scion of the house of Prophet Muhammad, who made bold claims such as being the Messiah and the theophany of a new Aeon in 1848. His vision and charisma caused chaos in Iran with large portions of the population supporting him. The Bab had a radical political and social agenda, and his mystical beliefs and esoteric glossia were profound. He had followers known as the Letters of the Living, with Mullah Hussein Bushra and Mullah Muhammad Ali Barfurushi Qudus being significant. Qudus and the Bab had a complementary leadership role, with Qudus seen as the return of the Prophet Muhammad. After the Bab's death, it was believed that Qudus spiritually returned, and his successor, Mirza Yahya Nuri Subi Azal, whom I have done a video on with Shaykh Wahid Azal in the past, and you can look that up in the Noor FSO playlist. The Bab declared himself to be the Messiah during the pilgrimage in Mecca, but was dismissed by the pilgrims. He was later arrested and forced to recant his claim in Shiraz. He escaped to Isfahan, where he gained followers and made his claim to supersede Muhammad. Eventually, he was moved to Maku and then Shirik, where he continued to gain followers. Meanwhile, Tahiri and Qudus led a break from the exoteric Islam in Badash. The Bab's followers faced persecution and siege at Sheikh Tabarsi, resulting in the death of Mullah Hussein. The siege ended with a massacre of the remaining Babis. The teachings discussed the events leading up to the execution of the Bab, the founder of the Babi sect, in 1850. The Bab faced unfair trials and was sentenced to death for heresy. During the execution, the Bab miraculously escaped the first volley of shots, but was later found and executed by a second regiment, and the details of his disappearance remain a mystery. The bodies of the Bab and his followers were retrieved and buried by Bab's successor Azal in an undisclosed location, possibly around the Azerbaijan area. Subi Azal was seen as the leader and successor of the Babi movement, but he faced challenges from several contenders claiming to be the Messiah. One of these contenders was Mirza Hussein Ali Nuri, who later founded the Baha'i faith. The split between the Bayani and Baha'i factions led to Azal's exile and the establishment of Baha'i headquarters in Haifa, Israel. Azal's biography reveals his family background and upbringing under the care of his stepmother. Shaykh Wahid continues to educate us and discusses Subi Azal's childhood, education, and early involvement in the Babi faith. It also mentions his close relationship with his stepbrother and stepmother, his quiet nature as a child, and his devotion to the Babi teachings. And it describes his imprisonment and mistreatment at the hands of the government forces. The manifestation of Subi Azal at the age of 19 brought new hope to believers. Subi Azal communicated with the primal point through a hidden letter, which caused the primal point to express extreme jubilation. Subi Azal was named the successor and mirror by the primal point. Subi Azal married his cousin and had a daughter who married Sheikh Ahmad Ruhi. Subi Azal's manifestation occurred shortly before the primal point's martyrdom, and in his testament, the primal point left specific instructions to Subi Azal for protecting the Bayani faith. Subi Azal and his family were sent to Cyprus under Ottoman control. The governor of Edirne forged letters with Subi Azal's signature. Ottoman officials sent followers of Baha and Subi Azal to different locations to gather information. Subi Azal's followers were murdered by Baha's men. The murderers were arrested but later released. Subi Azal lived in difficult conditions in Cyprus until his death. He had a wife and children. Subi Azal showed great patience and dignity despite facing many difficulties. And it is so important to recognize this. And you must study the life of Subi Azal and even watch the video that Shaykh Wahid Azal and I did in our series of playlists. And that's also on our channel under the Noor FSO playlist. Moving further, we have the teachings by the Shaykh Wahid, who discusses the early life and mission of Mirza Ali Muhammad, also known as the Bab. It mentions his upbringing, marriage, and the beginning of his mission. The teachings mentions the meaning of the title Bab and its historical context. Mirza Ali Muhammad, also known as the Bab, used the term Bab to refer to himself in earlier writings. However, in his later works, he used the term to refer to others as well. Mullah Hussein one of his disciples, became convinced of the Bab's divine mission after reading his commentary on the Surah of Joseph. Another prominent disciple, Mullah Ali Bastami, spread the Bab's writings in Iraq, but was arrested and eventually sentenced to hard labor in the Ottoman dockyards. The events surrounding Mullah Ali's trial in Baghdad marked the first clash between the new Babi Baha'i religion and the ulama of Islam. He eventually died for his faith. Additionally, the Bab's successor, Subi Azal, is referred to as Ism al-Azal, with a gematria equivalent to Qudus, and Ism al-Wahid, with a gematria equivalent to Natik. Qurratul Ain, another prominent figure in the Babi movement, was known for her purity and her influential role. Tahiri, also known as Qurratul Ain, played a significant role in shaping Babi doctrine in the 19th century Iran. She was a highly educated and influential woman in a male-dominated Shia society. Tahiri became involved with the Babi movement and was one of the first to accept its teachings. She became known for her radical activism and was eventually deported from Iraq. She continued to spread the Babi message and was arrested later on charges of rebellion and conspiracy. And she was martyred in Tehran, and she is remembered as a remarkable figure in Persian history. A woman named Qurratul Ain was executed in Persia in 1852. Her death was painful and lingering, and she refused to renounce her faith. She was known for her poetry and her devotion to the Babi faith. And there is a text which is a poem expressing longing and devotion to the divine figure with references to wine, beauty, and religious concepts. And there are also mentions of literature on Tahiri, including a book that was written which is criticized for its lack of content and accuracy. Shaykh Wahid criticizes a book and its author for displaying racist and culturally insensitive biases. And the Shaykh cautions the readers and also those that are there to understand what's written in this book, to approach it with caution and emphasize the lack of scholarly and spiritual integrity. So any book that has a bias against Islam, Muslims, those in Eastern cultures and backgrounds, 9 out of 10 you're dealing with the Western ivory tower, and the Sheikh is telling you to have some common sense and discernment when dealing with these kind of things that you come across. The Sheikh also discusses the pilgrimage of the Bab to Mecca and provides details about the dates and the individuals involved. And the book continues to discuss the Godhead and its authority, as well as the role of the Bab as a messenger. It emphasizes the importance of faith in the Godhead's verses and warns against disbelief. The teachings also call for the Ottoman Empire and its people to embrace the Godhead's religion. And the assertion is there that the Bab was selected by the Godhead and holds this position of authority. And it mentions the return of the Dhikr Allah to the sacred land and urges the king or the rulers of that land to recognize its power. A letter is to be sent to the Ottoman sovereign and other kings to inform them of the global situation. The Godhead is just and powerful, and the messengers of the Godhead should be supported. There is speculation about the death of Manuchir Khan, a political rival who could have raised an army and introduced a young Bab as a spiritual leader of Iran. The clergy in Isfahan initially respected the Bab but later turned against him. A conference was proposed for the Bab to defend his doctrines, but some clergy refused to attend. A conversation between the Bab and the clergy members revealed their doubts and questions about his knowledge. The book discusses, as we move forward in the teachings of this book, it discusses several difficulties in the beliefs surrounding the movements and abilities of religious figures. And it teaches and mentions the sincere friendship of Manuchir Khan towards the Bab and recounts the journey of the Bab to Maku with Muhammad Beg. And the teachings continue to discuss the Bab's confinement at Maku and Chirik with different versions of the conditions presented. And the Bab also compiled several work during his time at Maku and the difficulties in maintaining correspondence with his followers. The Bab is then transferred to Chirik, where his confinement becomes more rigorous. And the duration of the Bab's time in each location and the execution at Tabriz is also described in this book. In 1849, after the defenders of Sheikh Tabrizi surrendered, they were initially treated with friendliness but were eventually massacred. Some of the prominent Babi chiefs were captured and executed, including Janab al-Qudus, Janab-e-Qudus, represented to be judged in Tehran but was instead handed over to his enemy, the Sayyidul Ulama, who tortured and killed him. The Sayyidul Ulama attempted to burn his body, but it did not burn, so the body was cut into pieces and scattered. Some pieces of his body were collected and buried by unnamed Babis. Janab-e-Qudus apparently predicted his death. In the manner of it, the Sayyidul Ulama suffered from intense cold after the execution. A visitation tablet for Janab-e-Qudus was written by the Bab, praising his sacrifice and sanctity. The book discusses the dominion of paradise and all that dwell therein, and mentions the love and humility exhibited towards Muhammad. It also includes a conversation between the Bab and Nizam al-Ulama, where the Bab makes claims of being the gate of the city of knowledge and the Lord of command. Nizam al-Ulama questions these claims and asks for miracles to prove them, leading to a discussion of traditions and the Sahifa-i-Sajadiyya. The book describes a conversation between individuals questioning the claims and teachings of the Bab. They challenge his power and his knowledge of religious laws, traditions, and grammar. The Bab fails to provide adequate responses and is criticized for his mistakes and lack of expertise. A hermaphrodite is required to perform ablutions, but not a man or a woman, according to a ruling by Alama. The text and the teachings of this book continue to include a conversation between Bab and Nizam al-Ulama, discussing various topics including religious law, grammar, and the Bab's book. The Bab is unable to provide satisfactory answers to the questions posed to him, revealing his lack of knowledge. Eventually, Nizam al-Ulama derides the Bab and has him taken away. The book discusses the burial place of Qaim and the claim by the Baha'is to possess his remains. It also mentions the beliefs of the Bayanis that they hold the remains and provides quotes from the writings of the Bab and others. The longer epistle includes instructions from the Bab on how to bury believers and proclaims the greatness of the Godhead. The teachings continue to discuss further the importance of following the commands of God and not questioning his actions, and it mentions the manifestation of grandeur by the Godhead and the need for patience and steadfastness in following his commands. It further instructs the conveyance of specific unity names to different lands and emphasizes the preservation of tablets with the verses of God. And it concludes by asserting the greatness of the Godhead and the need for refuge from oppressive tyrants. An Australian-based Irani Bayani suggests that Muhammad Mazandarani may be a pseudonym for Hussein Ali Nuri himself. This theory is based on Nuri's use of the name Darvish Muhammad Irani while in Iraqi Kurdistan. The Sheikh believes further examination is needed to determine the true identity of Muhammad Mazandarani, and the Sheikh also implies that the responsibility for the murder of Dayan lies with the Baha'i founder, the founder of the Baha'i faith, and not his stepbrother Azal. And the argument is there that Azal would not have had the capability or motive to hatch such a plot. With this new information, the suggestion can be made that future allegations against Azal by the Baha'is should be taken with caution and discernment. The Irani Bayani community recently acquired a document titled Law-e-Badi. This document is different from the Law-e-Badi of 1866 between 1868. And has been qualified as the second tablet of creation. It was made publicly available on the internet in February 2005. The Sheikh suggests that the document was written in the 1880s or shortly after by Mirza Hussein Ali Nuri or his son. And the Sheikh analyzes the theological implications of Hussein Ali Nuri's claims and discusses the importance he plays on his family. And of course, this document has been suppressed by the Baha'i authorities. Why a lot of these tablets were destroyed? It was because of their content. The Sheikh mentions personal experiences of persecution by the Baha'i organization and suggests that it should be investigated and curtailed. And the criticism is there of the Baha'i organization's lack of involvement in the Arab-Israeli conflict, Now, this book was written in 2006, and how relevant it is today about these people who are claiming to be love and light for all humanity, but they're right there in the middle of it all, and they haven't said a single word or statement, with their headquarters being in Haifa, Israel. The teachings of the book continue to suggest that Israel should thoroughly investigate the Baha'i organization and potentially expel them. And it also mentions the accusations of criminality against early Baha'i figures and provides a translated statement from Mirza Hassan Khurasani regarding threats made towards those who do not follow Abbas Effendi. And additionally, the book and the teachings include a translated letter describing a conspiracy to poison Mirza Yahya, a Unitarian follower. Hussein, the confectioner, died of poison in the house of Abbas Effendi Abdul Baha. Mirza Yahya of Isfahan, a former Azali, became a supporter of Muhammad Ali. Mirza Yahya opposed Abbas Effendi until his death, which was foreshadowed in a tablet sent by Abbas Effendi. The tablet threatened those who broke the covenant and praised the worth of Abbas Effendi. The Sheikh criticizes those who opposed Abbas Effendi and likens them to the children of Israel who worship the golden calf. The Sheikh questions Mirza Yahya for disrespecting the covenant and the designated center of authority. The book and the teachings continue to discuss the consequences and warnings for those who violate the covenant of the Baha'i faith, specifically referring to the Mirza Yahya as a covenant breaker. It includes accounts of Mirza Yahya's death and emphasizes the swift punishment for those who oppose the center of the covenant. The Sheikh promises further details on the schism and concludes with references to other works on the history of Baha'ism. The teachings discusses correspondence from the National Spiritual Assembly of the Baha'is of Australia regarding individuals who have withdrawn from the Baha'i community. It includes quotes highlighting the organization's views on dissidents and opposition. The book continues to criticize the Baha'i organization as a totalitarian cult and raises questions about its claims of human rights violations. And the Sheikh refuses to recant their alleged association with an organization and criticizes the biased and prejudiced tone of a letter that they had received. And the claim is there that the threats and sanctions the Sheikh has faced are in violation of the principles of a spiritual assembly. And the Sheikh expresses concern about the impacts of these actions on their family and suggests that those in power are above the law. It's still true to this very day. And the argument is there from the Sheikh that free speech and independent thinking are stifled within the Baha'i community. And the Sheikh states his commitment to their faith and their belief in the distinction between the faith itself and those seeking leadership positions. The Sheikh mentions his ability to seek justice through other authorities if necessary, and I'm glad he has done that throughout the course of his life, from 2005, 6, and up until this point. And the rightful criticism of the Baha'i founders and their successors and comparing them to the Whore of Babylon is a very nice comparison, which I saw in this book. And the question about Baha'i sources of representation of an incident involving Hussein Ali seeking shelter at the Russian embassy after an assassination attempt. So those have to be that event has to be taken into discernment as well, such as other related incidents and all of this leading up to it. And yeah, that's exactly what it is. For the Azali community, there are allegations of assassination among the Azalis, with a total of 16 alleged assassinations. And there is also a mention of poisoning incident in Edirne, where Baha'u'llah, or how the Sheikh describes him, Haba'u'llah, was accused of trying to poison Azal. But it's stated that Subi Azal refused to eat the food and Baha'u'llah became ill instead. Additionally, there are letters exchanged between Azal and Baha'u'llah where Azal accuses Baha'u'llah of betrayal and abuse. And the claim is there that there is no independent evidence for the claims made in Baha'i sources. So there's that. So to conclude this book, The teachings discuss the 19 commandments revealed by the divine entity in order to guide humanity towards love, peace, and justice. The commandments emphasize self-awareness, inner truth, detachment from materialism, and honesty. And they also discourage the formation of exclusive religious organizations and oppressive governments. The divine entity emphasizes its presence in all things and beliefs. And I encourage you to go into the Noor FSO playlist on my channel and look at the video that I've done on the 19 commandments of the Fatimiyya Sufi order. And also towards the end of the book, it includes a founding charter for universal theophanocracy and commandments emphasizing the importance of equality, caring for others, protecting the environment, not buying or selling the four elements, and striving for peace and justice. The Sheikh also proposes a gathering of Gnostic wisdom traditions to work towards global reconstruction and a new golden age. And there is a criticism of contemporary New Ageism for its lack of addressing bigger questions. And all of it is basically there. I hope you benefited from the summary teachings and analysis of this book of the great Shaykh Wahid Azal, of the LIBER Decatriarchia Mystica, published in 2006. I will publish the link in the description below where you can access this, and the links for Shaykh Wahid Azal and how you can support him and the Noor FSO. Again, I represent myself only, and I hope you benefited from this. Noor alaikum.